A very good morning to everyone. I heartily welcome you all for the second day section of international webinar Challenges and Opportunities in Transportation Sector Post Covid-19 of our international program organized by the Department of Mechanical Engineering, St. Anne's College of Engineering Technology, Angichittipalayam, Pandruti, and behalf of management, principal, and Department of Mechanical, we heartily welcome today resource person, Professor Dr. K. Sudhakar, Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, Research Fellow, Automotive Engineering Center, University, Malaysia, Pahang, Malaysia. I really happy to introduce our honorable speaker of the day, Dr. K. Sudhakar. He has vast experience in the field of engineering education. He has been actively involved in research in the area of energy and environment. He has published around 105 research papers in referred national and international journals. He has authored more than 10 technical books. He has various awards to his credit. We also welcome all the participants from the various universities and colleges to take part and make this webinar a grand success. Now, I hand over the section to our chief guest, Dr. K. Sudhakar. Thank you.
Thank you so much for organizing this event, and thank you for the college as well as the participants who are present to listen to this session. I hope we will have some wonderful time for another at least 1 hour. We'll discuss what is the scenario in the transport and energy sector, and with this small introduction from their side, I'll straight away go into the title of my presentation. So we are going to discuss something about challenges and opportunities in transport and energy sector during this COVID-19 situation. So we are all in a very critical situation. Of course, globally, this is a problem, not only with respect to the Indian sector. Globally, it's a problem, but how it's going to affect our lifestyle, how it's going to affect our energy sector and transport sector. So this is a very important area which we need to think about it. What are the challenges and what are the future opportunities post COVID-19? So this also will slightly touch during this particular session. And let me go into the detail. Normally, I start with this saying. So if we can just go through this one by three eminent personalities. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Of course, education is the one which is changing the whole world. So if we are not educated, definitely we will not think wiser. So these are all some golden words which we should need to take it. When educating the minds of our youth, we must not forget to educate their hearts. Today, this modern education, actually, we try to teach the young minds, but we never teach to educate their hearts. This is also one of the golden words which we should take it. Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep our mind young. So we are all aged. So in fact, the participants, I don't know about your age and all. I'm now around 39 plus, and I feel that I'm getting older. But when I teach or when I educate my students, I feel I'm younger actually. So learners are always younger. I hope every one of you are young at this stage now, since we are all going to learn something in this presentation. I feel everybody is young in this period. About myself, I think Dr. Murugan has explained about myself, about me, about my past qualification and experience. So, but still, I would slightly touch upon it. I was coming from Tamil Nadu, and I did my bachelor's in Government Engineering College, Salem, master's in Devi University, Indore, and PhD from National Institute of Technology, Tiruchirappalli. Then after that, I was serving at NIT Bhopal for around 6-7 years. Then I took some leave to join at University, Malaysia, Pahang. And for the past 4 years, I am associated with University, Malaysia. I'm more interested towards renewable energy, energy conservation, energy management, energy auditing, and the issues which are related to climate and environment. This is my area, and it's very close to my heart, especially the topic related to energy and environment. When it comes to the uh, this presentation, though it was very much close to the transportation sector, but we should start with the energy actually, because energy is the prime mover of all the economies, let it be developed countries or developing countries. Energy is one which is actually driving the economy. Without energy, there is no industries. Without energy, there is no transportation. And without energy, there is no GDP. Without energy, there is no economy of the country. So energy is the prime mover. Energy is the one which is driving all the economies. And you all know that approximately 2 billion people are estimated to be have without access to the clean and affordable source of energy. Though we say there is access, one of the sustainable development goals is to provide clean energy for all. So in this context, this thing to be very much considered, that there are people still don't have access to the electricity. And the majority of expansion predicted to take place in urban areas. Around 80% of the world population still live in developing countries. So you remember this point actually. 80% of the people still lives in the developing countries. Though there are many developed nations, but still 80% of the people lives in developing countries. It means there are a lot of challenges in this sector. There are a lot of problems also. As far as our country's challenge is concerned, there is a huge demand in energy demand and supply scenario. One is we are dependent. This is a very key factor which we need to consider, which is India is dependent on oil imports for about 71% of its demand actually. So I don't know about the present figure, but this figure is about 71% is really a huge, because our transportation sector, our transportation mainly depends on petrol, diesel, and other crude oil, which is very much we are dependent on other countries. Therefore, our oil dependency is so much, so we are insecure in terms of our transportation energy requirements. Of course, in the energy side, we are working on the renewables, the solar, wind, biomass, all this are coming into our electricity requirements. But again, there will be huge demand in our electricity requirement in the coming years. Therefore, there will be huge shortage in supply of power, and there will be peak shortages expected. And there is 300 million people still do not have access to the electricity in the rural areas. So these are all some access issues which we have a problem. So India is a very big country with a different culture, tradition, and all. So it depends actually. There are still rural populations don't have access. So this factor which we need to consider. And climate change is one major issue which our country is also suffering, and there are some solutions which are very much needed in this climate change sector. So however, this is all related actually. Our energy demand supply scenario, this oil dependency, these are all very huge challenge. And now with this COVID situation, this all become still more challenges there in this one. And most of the country face this kind of trilemma, that is called energy security, energy equality, and environmental sustainability. How we are going to provide modern energy access to all the people, how we are going to provide renewable energy to all the people without considering the race, religion, or anything. Energy security, how yourself we are going to become secure in terms of our meeting our energy requirements. Are we still going to depend on foreign countries for oil and gas, or we are going to become secure in terms of energy? Then environmental sustainability, how our energy use is not going to affect the environment. So in that way, all the countries globally are in the trilemma. They are facing a trilemma. The trilemma is about energy security, energy equality, and environmental sustainability. So these things should be very much considered in the as one of the primary criteria when you consider the growth of a country. As far as the country's green energy growth is concerned, there are some lot of targets and lot of renewable source which can play a very vital, important role in the future energy mix. One is solar; it's already popular in our country, and lot of additions are happening. Wind energy, of course, there are limited to wind-prone areas. Biomass has got its own problem, but still, since ours is agricultural country, there are surplus biomass which can be used for electricity generation, as well as some community applications for a shorter power generation can be used. And then the fuel cell, which is hydrogen based, to produce distributed power supply. This is also considered as one of the renewable energy source which can be the future. And the target by the Indian government for this renewable energy sector is really appreciable. It's almost the target is around 100 gigawatt by 2022. These were the targets set forth for the each of the renewables. But again, with this pandemic situation, there will be definitely disruption in the installations of all these projects. We'll discuss what are the challenges we face in achieving this target of 100 gigawatt of solar and 60 gigawatt of wind, 10 gigawatt of biomass, and 63 gigawatt of nuclear in this 2022, and this target is there. So we'll see how these is getting affected in this one. Some few pictures which will talk about the present situation in our country. So this all you can see a lot of shops are closed, but slowly the things are changing, and there are public transport already opened up, but still since our country is having huge population, definitely there is a lot of problem for the people to access the transportation, people to access the essential commodities, people to access the shops and restaurants and all. So there are a lot of issues with the current situation. Almost the entire roads are deserted. You see no vehicles, no this one on the road, and people are migration workers are facing a challenge to move from one place to another place, because there is no transport. 90% of the transport is already not available for moving from one place to another. And for a country like India with a lot of population, definitely it's a big challenge for the government to address this issue. And but again, there are some positive out of it. Let's see what are the positive during the situation, how we can overcome this present COVID-19 situation. Now there are new norms of life. Actually, let me go into the new norms in this COVID situation, which is social distancing. Of course, in televisions you will see how social distancing is being taught, but our life is not like that. Normally, we like to because humans are social creatures, because we like to interact with our friends, we like to interact with our people, we would like to stay connected with the people. So that is how our culture and our all stays. But now we are into the new norms of life, that we need to follow the social distancing. And there is now importance of self-discipline, how we need to control ourselves in so many situations, self-discipline. And then reconnecting with the old friends, because this situation has helped us to connect with our old friends through WhatsApp group and some social media. All these things, we are able to meet our past students and past friends. We are able to do it. And acquiring new skills, of course, thanks to this kind of platforms which are helpful to connect through the millions of people. You will see a lot of webinars has become a norm. Every day there is webinars being organized to enrich ourselves. A lot of awareness training programs are happening. So in that way, we can acquire new skills, new knowledge in this field. So in that way, this COVID-19 has helped us to learn new things in our life. And many people are very much cautious about exercising. So people are doing exercise at our home, yoga, meditation, and other lifestyle activities has also become a boon these days. And then there is an immense self-realization. Now we all started to feel ourselves, a new sense of life has come to us, and we are feeling like there is some change in everybody's personality. There is a change in everybody's the approach towards the others. In that way, there is really a self-realization among all our people that should be appreciated. Previously, we used to see that whenever we meet some business people or something like that, we start shaking hands and all. So gone are those social norm. Now it has become all this kind of things which we used to follow. Either we go for namaste, vanakkam, or we do this gesture, or sometimes even a small hand raise can also be a good gesture. So in that way, these kind of social norms have started to come in this COVID-19 situation. And the new norm is when you talk with your friends or you want to meet them, they will ask, do we need to meet in person? Because virtually there is no transport, there is no possibility to meet our friends in person. And due to this, so the new norm has become, do we really need to meet in person? Why not we meet in WhatsApp? Why not we meet in Google Meet? Or why not we talk in WhatsApp? So like that, the norm has become like this. So these are all new things for us, but let us accept this change and let us make this as a positive thing. And some few other lessons learned is lesson start by the COVID is about health. Actually, it talks that health is more important than anything else. So first priority goes to maintaining our health and mind in a better manner. Then comes how important is our family. Gone are the days where we will be rushing to the office in the early morning and carrying our food and other things, and we are busy with the office, and we used to ignore our children, we ignore our parents. Now this situation has taught us how to live with our family, at the same time how to take care of our job and professions. In that way, we are trying to balance the family and our profession together. So this is one lesson which it has taught us. And again, social media, how, because this is having pros and cons, both are there, because social media thrives on underlying human addiction actually. Because in social media, what happens, we try to show ourselves getting attracted or get noticed actually. That is the one major issue with the social media. Therefore, we keep on updating our Facebook post, our WhatsApp profile pictures. In that way, the social media is doing both good and bad things, but still this has become a norm, and every day people are able to show something in the LinkedIn post or Facebook post and all these things. And of course, our unsung heroes are our healthcare workers, the trench dwellers, the scientists, innovators, researchers who are working day and night somehow to find a solution. There are data scientists who are analyzing what will be the future situation in this pandemic and how life is going to change in the coming years. There are many people who are working in this field and to find some solutions to this sector. So that way, there are many people who are little known in this field. And government, of course, we need to appreciate the government efforts, irrespective of what they are doing. We need to see, though it's a very global issue. It's not only to India; it's global. Therefore, every country, even the developed nations, the leaders, the topmost leaders, are having facing the situation. And again, it shows that the failure of governments in almost all the countries. So they because many of the countries are not prepared to tackle this COVID-19 situation. Not only India, it's many of the countries couldn't do this one. There are a few countries who can handle it properly, but again, it depends on the fast action and all these things. So there are lessons which has taught us how we should take care of this present situation. Let us go to the topic of the research. Topic of the presentation is about the transport and energy sector. See, let's talk about the reality. We people so much reliant on the oil and gas for our life, but you see, globally the price of oil has crashed down like anything, and it is even the first time in the history the oil price has come down like anything. It has gone negative, and then many of the oil-rich countries are difficult to store this oil, and then the cost of storing the oil is very much higher than the cost of production. In that way, the oil price has affected a lot. Why this oil price has crashed like anything? It's well known that because of there is very little transportation. It's because people are sitting at home and working. People are not going to the office. There is no road, railway, no airlines operating. It's very minimal. Though there are started slowly, the economic activities are started, but the activities are very minimal. It means only 20% of the transportation has started. The 80% has already the transportation has reduced. Therefore, it has resulted in a very oil crash situation. It has gone down, and it has affected many of the economies, oil-rich countries, in terms of their GDP and all that. But again, this is a temporary one. It will overcome this. And you can see the world consumption and production of oil. Since there was literally no transportation, then the oil consumption has drastically come down during this particular quarter of the year 2020. The first quarter roughly up to April, you can see there is a drastic drop in the world consumption of oil. It has dropped nearly about less than 90 million barrels per day. So this is the outlook shared by agency. So this is a major thing in the transport sector. But still, in our country, the oil and gas price has not increased. It still remains the same. But you'll see that globally there is a reduction in the oil consumption. So let us see what is the socio-economic and environmental impact. There are impacts towards energy, impacts towards transport sector. But what is the socio-economic impact? Socio-economic impact, I could see that there is a increase in unemployment and poverty. So because many of them are losing jobs, and many of them are sitting at home without jobs and all this thing. Why? Because literally there is no production. The supply chain is affected, and since there is no demand for their product, many of the companies are shutting down their plants. they are laying off their workers. So in that way, there is unemployment, except government sector, all the private sector and all, there is a lot of unemployment issues coming into it. In fact, even in education sector, there is because since it's become online education, you can easily handle thousands of students in one class. So normally there is a ratio of 60 students for one teacher, 60 students, one teacher is needed. But now everything is made online, so there is no need of teachers. One teacher can manage everything. So that way there is a unemployment problem. Even in education sector, I could see there is an issue. So therefore, there is a increase in unemployment and poverty everywhere globally. There is a market crash. The stock market has come down, and crash in the crude oil price. The oil price is very, very volatile. It is very unsteady. So people are not putting money into the oil. Of course, the commodity which is competitive to oil is nothing but gold. So many of the investors are moving towards gold to invest. But our gold price is always increasing. You all know why it's increasing, because many people will still put money into the gold, and therefore the gold price will still go up and putting money into the oil sector. The natural gas and coal price have not stopped, have not that much dropped when compared to the crude oil. And there is a disturbance in the education system, because all the education systems, educational institutions are literally closed, or mostly they are doing online education, online exams and all. So in that way, there is a disturbance in education sector. At least until the end of 2020, there is a disturbance. We need to see how we will overcome this present situation. There is a danger to the healthcare workers. And there is a lot of disturbance in our science and engineering research activities, because we are not able to access our lab, we are not able to access our research facilities to carry out research. And most of our research activities are done at home. Most of our work is done, but sometimes, of course, home atmosphere has got its own problem. We will not be able to access the facilities which we have only at our universities or only at our office. In that way, there is a lot of disturbance in our research activities as well. So in that way, the socio-economic and other activities are getting affected a lot. Coming to the impact on the power system, the global scenario is the loads are classified into residential loads, commercial loads, and industrial loads. And you see there is a drastic reduction in the commercial and industrial loads, because many of the industries and commercial sectors are not operating. Therefore, naturally, it is understood that there will be a less demand on this sector. But there is a load demand has changed, because many of the people are working at home, and then the load mix is totally different. The residential load has increased a lot, and therefore there is a slight change in the load profile of many of the countries. Because in residential sector, 24 hours we are using our internet, we are using our television set, we are sitting at the TV and watching what is the news happening globally. So in that way, we are all hooked to the network, and we are into the Facebook, we are into all these things. So therefore, naturally, the residential electricity bill has increased. Therefore, the residential load has increased a lot. Impact on electricity demand, and demand for electricity in most of the countries has reduced. Though this is due to the industrial and commercial sector, there is a demand reduced in the electricity demand has reduced. But this is a very short duration. It's only the first quartile. We are in the first quartile. Maybe when you see how things goes in the second quarter or third quarter or fourth quarter, there will be totally a different story. But again, at this present situation, there is a change in the load profile, change in the electricity mix also. So this picture shows, again, I took in from the available online resources. People are facing difficulty in access to the transportation. No, people are literally walking for long distance to reach to their destination. So this is a very dangerous situation in our country, as many people don't have access to the transportation sector. In fact, many of the foreigners are stuck. It's not because it's not. This is a domestic problem within our country. Even our Indians who are living in a foreign country where they lost their job and they want to return to their country, they cannot come because there is no flight. Only a few rescue flights are operating, and therefore people are struggling globally to come back to our home and stay peacefully. So in that way, the transportation has affected our life. It has really, because it is our backbone. Transport, without transportation sector, no economic activities can happen. The movement always takes place. When you want to even move to your office, we use public transport to reach our office. When you want to move towards another city for some other purpose, so in that way, the transportation, which affects our daily life actually, which is really put a stop on our so many activities. It is like going to the office, going to education, going to the though it's fine, education institutions are closed, but some few activities are opened up. Shopping, restaurants, appointments, arts, culture. There are many appointments made by different people, entertainment, celebrations. This all are assessed with only transportation network. But since there is no transportation, then naturally all these activities are getting stopped. Normally, for education, people like us, we all involved in so many conferences, concerts, fairs, parties, sports events. Everything gets cancelled because of no transportation due to fear of all this COVID pandemic activities. Even the markets have very limited access because we are all strictly monitored, and we are all into the media watching what is happening, how the COVID situation is improving or decreasing, and also the life has literally it stopped because of there is no movement in this world. Essential, except the essential workforce, because the essential workforce are medical, utilities, public sectors, services, supermarkets, and some other supply chain providers. They are all into the operation, except these the other services. The other services are slowly coming up, but again, these all services depends on transportation. We should not forget about it, because without transportation, there is no life in this earth. So let's see the impact on the transport network. You all know that there is no passenger movement. Almost the passenger movement has reduced by over 90%, because most of the cities are virtually stopped. No transport, nothing. So there is a reduction in movement of about 90%. International travel, it's well understood, since there is a fear of pandemic spreading through international travels. Therefore, it is mostly reserved, and for the people who want to come back to their home countries. There is no airlines operating, only rescue flights are there. There is no demand in the international airlines. 80%, it has fallen down by 80%. Many of the airlines are grounded. There is no market for them. Their market has actually collapsed, and many of the airlines are only operating cargo flights. Now I saw on television the domestic airlines have started, but still many globally it has affected actually. And there is a home deliveries. The lockdown has created a surge in demand for home deliveries. This is one to be appreciated, but still we are able to get our things through home delivery, e-commerce, and all. This has picked up a lot in this scenario. So in that way, there are some services happening in this one. Global supply chains still need to be maintained, because some or other we are dependent on other countries for medical supplies or food, because some of the food comes from other countries. In that way, the global supply chain gets affected in meeting the daily demand of medical kits and this food items. So in that way, this transport sector has played a very important role in all this thing. The local transport, literally there is no public transport, so people are coping up with the social distancing. So we don't travel much. So since we don't need to travel in the public transport, people are fear to take the bus. So what they do, there is a need for using our personal vehicle, personal two-wheeler, personal car in many of the cities. So everybody is now thinking of using their personal vehicles. In that way, I feel there may be a demand in personal vehicle in the future. Everybody would like to have their own car, or everybody would like to have their own vehicle in the future. So in that way, there will be a change in the style of using the public transport. People started cycling and walking. As you all know, we are all there will be need for quality spaces, because in our country many of the roads are only meant for vehicles, only meant for other things. There is no any quality space or corridors for walking or cycling. So in future Indian transport procurement, there will be a quality space which are needed for specifically for a cycle path, specifically needed for a walking path. That this all may be needed in the future. So future policymakers will plan highways or state roads with this space of cycling and walking, which is now lacking in this present situation. There will be low speed zone, high speed zone, and all these zones may come. Reduction in car usage also comes, since many people are allowed to work from home. Many of the companies are saying you can also still work from home. Therefore, both the side it is there. See, I say there is a possibility to increase the purchase of vehicle, because people will be afraid to use the public transport. There will be there is a need of automobile sector may increase because people would like to purchase their own vehicle. At the same time, there will be reduction in car usage also because many people are instructed to work at home and do their work. So in that way, there is a number of cars on the roads has reduced sharply, and the pollution level has come down because people started to work from the office. In that way, there is a reduction in the car usage. And only the transport for the essential workers is happening. That is through affordable transport networks. Sometimes companies are sending their own vehicle to pick up. So it's a good thing. It should be appreciated. So people are using that kind of transport to keep the healthcare and other systems running. And you can see there is a reduced accident actually. Many times what happens, a lot of transport related accidents always happens. And the past 3-4 months, the global accidents has gone reduced because there is no vehicles on the road. Therefore, there is no very little fatalities during the accident. And then the many companies started to give flexible work arrangements. In that way, it should be appreciated that we are allowed to do flexible work. Sometimes you can come to the office, sometimes you can work from home. Weekly there is 5 working days, then you can work from 2 days from home and 3 days in office, something like that. There is a flexible work arrangements for many of the employees. So that has to be appreciated in this present situation. Impact on logistics and commodities. So since the transportation sector is very much related to the movement of goods also, it's not only movement of people, movement of goods, how the movement of goods is getting affected, because I see a lot of healthcare products are facing logistic challenges, and we are very much dependent on so many consumer goods like mask, disinfectant, medicines, and other essential commodities from other countries. Therefore, due to this kind of limited availability, we are dependent on other countries. That is creating a lot of shortages in these products. Then there is a supply pressure due to panic buying of food and other daily needs. Many of the people, I see in some parts of Asia, I see a lot of people are doing panic buying. People are buying masks and keeping it, stocking at our home. People are buying bread and stocking at home for long days. People are buying many of the foods and stocking at their homes. In that way, there is a panic buying because the people are afraid that the food price may increase, and everybody is purchasing all essential commodities and they're keeping for 1 month. It gets stocked up. Panic buying is where everywhere I see panic buying, and the daily need products also getting the price rise also because due to panic buying, and the cost of the product has increased a lot. But one good thing in transportation sector is roadways are less affected when compared to airways and waterways, because the air transport and water transport, the shipping one is literally closed, but the road one is still less affected because still you can see lorries, still you can see other vehicles which are plying to carry the essential vegetables and other things. In that way, roadways are very less affected because they are very much relied for the continuous supply of food, medicine, and other essential products. In that way, at least the road transport is still going on. Now, there is a reduction in the industrial and service production because many of the industrial and service activities are affected. Therefore, there is a decrease in the supply industry. The supply chain is broken. Therefore, many of the commodities is getting stopped. And Asia Pacific is expected to have the largest logistic market size because many of the production happens in the Asia Pacific region. Therefore, the logistic requirement in this part of the country is very high, and then that needs a lot of logistic requirements to meet the consumer demands. In that way, there is a possibility of more logistic growth in these countries. Additional cost to disinfect and implement physical distancing measures in public transport and vehicles and infrastructures. These days, as in public transport, you will find a lot of measures being taken as the social distancing is needed. Therefore, the cost of tickets, cost of public transport may increase because we are not allowed to sit together. We are not allowed to travel. In fact, there is a vacant seats in the bus. Therefore, there may be the increase in cost of the tickets and all. And this will add to other impact actually. And there is a possibility of infection among the public transport workers also. So these are all some impacts, especially in the transportation sector. And this is the state of, there are some standard operating procedures. You could see for the present situation, there are operating procedures followed by different airlines. Previously, the air hostess used to look in a different fashionable dress, but you see the petty state of the air hostess, they need to be well protected. They need to wear this kind of mask and shieldings, all these things in a flight which is for 2 hours or 3 hours journey. We need to be in this kind of costume. Even passengers have to be in this kind of situation, and we need to even follow the social distancing, even to collect our baggages and all. It's all a lot of measures being taken. I don't know how long this SOPs will be followed in the transportation sector. But again, every sector has got its own SOPs. When you use a public road, public buses, when you use public railways, and all these things, there are standard operating procedures being followed. But again, this SOPs will be for a certain period of time. Once the COVID-19 situation calms down, then there is a possibility that slowly this kind of SOPs may not be followed in future. But still, at this moment, these are all being implemented and being taken as preventive measures to stop the infection. But what are the opportunities? I talked about the impact. What are the impacts in the transportation sector? There are some few opportunities also, because previously we are all not health concern is a neglected factor. Now everybody is health conscious. We are afraid to go outside. We are afraid to use public transport. We now know the importance of social distancing. We know how we need to keep queue, or we need to follow the spacing in a queue. So in that way, there may be a new health standards set among ourselves when we assess the public transport. For example, many buses have adopted social distancing measures by not allowing the passengers to sit together. The passenger temperatures are recorded. So there are many in many cities. You will see this, the QR codes are already implemented in buses, and passengers to scan their mobiles, and their contacts are registered. And the bus operators have even introduced on-demand shuttle buses. So only on demand there is a buses happening. So in that way, there will be new health standards even when we assess the public transport. Accelerate the adoption of online tools. Previously, there was more towards physical connectivity. Now it's all towards virtual connectivity. So in that way, all our services, jobs, opportunities can happen by through virtual network. Though it cannot happen completely, but still we are able to adapt to the online tools. These online tools can be even adapted to the transportation sector also. We know when the bus will arrive, how long the bus can reach in time, how many passengers in the bus. In that way, there may be automation in the transport sector as well. In many of the countries, it's already implemented. All these things are there, but slowly this adoption can come in the transport. Digital technology and big data is playing a very vital role in this field. That's like transport stakeholders can find solution to enhance the resilience of their networks. So they can find which network there is a demand, and which network they need to have a more supply of this supply chain has to increase. Then you can find out using big data and digital technology what is the current demand in the transportation. Accordingly, we can plan for the increasing our services, all these things. So in that way, digital technology and big data are playing a vital role in the transportation needs. These are some this one new era in automations. You can see there are 24/7 kiosks. There is a mistake. It's 24/7. There are kiosks which are running automated kiosks. So you simply put a coin or something, it will give you the essential commodities. So these kiosks are operating 24/7. There are in-flight entertainment screens, and robots and drones are used to sanitize the surfaces. Artificial intelligences in bus scheduling and curb usage, because this is AI is used to know which area there is a demand, which area we should operate more buses. In that way, there is artificial intelligence are being used. There are more security scannings, aircraft boarding. There are a lot of checks through these automated systems. So you need not touch the surface. Everything is automated. You need to simply show your e-passport, e-card, and e-things are coming into it everywhere. So in that way, there is a new era of automation in the transportation sector. Automated system of future will be hyper efficient. You can see the systems will be maybe hyper efficient. The systems may be comparatively cleaner than the present situation. There is a possibility of ride sharing passengers. Not only in bikes, there are ride sharing in cars and ride sharing and all these things. In that way, there are new changes. There are, of course, threats also, because these cameras and sensors may be used for abusive purposes, and there are safety issues, there are privacy issues. All these things are one of the major threat in this sector. And queueless and touchless airport is being used, but there are again racial issues. You'll see white people, black people, there are difference in this one. Transgender, there are people who are using religious clothes, and they are subjected to checking and all. So in that way, there are some issues regarding to this particular aspect also. Thermal cameras, though they are used in airports to check the fever, but it may conceal their fevers. If you take a medication just before security check, we can escape also. In that way, there are some threats also, and people may use different kind of clothing to evade this thermal cameras or this kind of security this one. So there are other threats for this sector. And coming to this is about transport sector. We discussed a little bit about energy sector, because we are very much dependent on renewable energy in this scenario. We need to see how the solar, wind, biomass getting affected in this present pandemic situation. Since there is a low oil prices, many people will not put money into the oil. So therefore, there is a chance that the renewable energy and green energy efficiency market may pick up. People may put money into this field than putting money into the oil and gas. So there is a chance of demand in the renewable energy. But presently, the availability of renewable energy products are getting affected because of the disrupted global supply chain. Because we are dependent on batteries, inverters, we are dependent on small components, cables from other countries. Because of that, the supply chain get affected, and since the supply chain getting affected, then we are not able to put the plant into operation quickly. So therefore, the renewable energy installations, there is a setback in the commissioning and operation of the plants. And cheaper fossil fuel based energy would be even a higher priority during recession. Sometimes there is the other side also. Since there is oil and coal price are very cheaper, why don't we go for a fossil fuel based economy? Why we go for renewable? So that is the other side also. But people may think to continue with the conventional fuel. So there is a possibility that we may be focused only on this also. And the human activities affects the COVID-19 will affect the way how we consume energy, how we use the energies. In that way, our consumption pattern, our production pattern may get changed, may get altered because of our demand. What are the prospects? But they still feel that the renewable energy industry is not affected much. It is likely to open up, because co-founder or president of General Capital, Mr. Chigasi, has said that this industry would come back with the roaring back once it's open up the business. Or renewable energy industry may not affect much, it seems, because there will be still awareness among people to go for a clean situation. Some few slides about ASEAN region. ASEAN is a group of 10 countries in the Southeast Asian region. There are some 10 countries which are called ASEAN. So there was some survey conducted that what is the impact of COVID in the ASEAN country. Then there many people said that it has got a very serious impact on the energy sector. So this is some kind of this one, a survey done by the ASEAN, and then which sector is going to affect mostly. That is, fossil fuel sector is getting affected a lot, which is oil gas sector. Next comes the renewable energy sector, and then alternate sector and other sectors are very little affected. So therefore, many people agreed that fossil fuel sector, coal and oil sector may get affected a lot in this situation. And this COVID pandemic situation has resulted in oil demand. I told you in the first slide itself about the reduced oil demand. So this has resulted in a different kind of strategy. What happened is, it has resulted in temporary cut down of power tariff, and many of the electric utilities companies have reduced the power tariff, and therefore there is a cost cutting measures, and then the utility companies the performance may get affected, and therefore there is a rethinking of future energy scapes. In that way, there is a one possibility of this one. And there is a shutdown in China. A lot of products, especially batteries and other components, are not available, and therefore there is a stagnant cost reduction on the electric vehicle market and lithium ion batteries, which also resulted in the rethinking of the landscape. And the reduced demand of oil affects in the infrastructure because many people are not willing to put money into the new projects. Many of the power purchase agreements are not signed, and many of the projects are contracts are stopped. So in that way, again, it is asking us to rethink about our energy landscape. Since oil price have stopped, has declined, there is more pressure on the biofuel and renewable energy to perform. And since there is more pressure on renewable and biofuel, then naturally there is impact on solar rooftops, distributed energy systems, private purchase agreement. There may be a slow uptake in all these things. This is all due to the interpolitical tension between superpowers, because many superpowers are the reasons for the price in the oil actually. So this is one side of the story through COVID pandemic, and this is due to political pressure, how it has affected. So indirectly, our whole energy landscape may be affected in this situation. The challenges are in energy sector is something like this. Many of the components, solar panels, wind turbine, batteries, all these components comes from the China. Therefore, the procurements of goods and services are affected. Supply chain disruptions. There will be delay and loss of time in installing renewable projects. Many of the projects getting affected. Many power purchase agreements are actually stopped, totally stalled, and there is a possibility that the price of renewable energy price may also change, because previously the cost of the PV came down like anything, but now at this moment we cannot tell what will be the price of renewable energy electricity, and there will be definitely a decrease in investment due to the uncertainty in our future electricity demand. So in that way, there are a lot of challenges in the energy sector. And many countries have asked to reduce electricity bill, and people are not paying their bills in time. Therefore, it is affecting the energy sector. So many of the electric companies are not performing better. Big electricity demand causes power generation capacity to become more abundant, and it will create more pressure on the baseload power plants, because you know that many of the plants are baseload plants and the peak load is through conventional fuel. So managing this grid issues and all, this is going to be a challenge, because the peak load requirements are normally met through the fossil fuel based plant. And lower electricity price and lower carbon price is going to create more risk for the wind and solar power sector. And the price of renewable energy electricity has fallen by around 20% since early March, which is now dropped from 46.24 US dollar per megawatt hour to almost 37 dollar per megawatt hour. This slight reduction was seen in this March month. So we need to see how this renewable energy price is going to change in the coming months. Let's go into the installation scenario of the projects, because I showed you a capacity, how much we are planning for solar in this 2020. And in 2020, since there is a COVID-19 situation, there is a drop, almost 24% drop in the solar PV installation in India. This is for the Indian statistics. So there was a drop in the solar installations, around minus 24.8% drop. And in the wind sector, there was a drop about 11%. So that our target of meeting the solar by 2022, it may get slowed down. Actually, we may not be able to achieve the target on time, though we will be trying hard, but the target may be slightly difficult at this scenario. Coming to the next picture about the post-COVID strategies, because now we know that there is some impact. So how to overcome this impact? What should be the strategies in this sector? So as you all know that we are very much dependent on China and other Asian countries for the components. Why don't we develop our Indian solar industry? We produce our products. So I am not saying totally against the foreign products, but still sometimes we need to produce individually also. So when we have a surplus from other countries, when it's cheaper, it's nothing wrong in purchasing from them. But when there is no supply from them, then definitely we need to think about doing products ourselves. In that way, we need to establish our capabilities in solar industry to develop cost stability and quality control products. So we need to look for other manufacturers to manufacture solar modules, and Indian manufacturers have a very good chance now to increase their market share, because many local companies can start producing a lot and try to overcome the market. And then there will be more importance for the domestically manufactured solar PV cells and wafers. Then that way our market can increase. There may be improve internal processes, increase the technical skills of employees. In that way, our technical skills, there is a possibility to enhance in this COVID-19 situation, and many of the industries should train their manpower in the sector. In that way, there are some opportunities for us in this energy sector actually. What are the recommendations for the clean energy growth? Many countries, you see, there are giving lot of stimulus packages, but these stimulus packages should be policy driven, and it should support more green growth, green transportation, and green solutions in almost all the sectors. In that way, there should be a package only for promoting the green products. So in that way, we can have a strong policy support that should be coming from the government towards this issue. And equally, if this crisis is managed, there is a full-blown global depression could set the clean energy transition back actually. So if we are able to manage this crisis, then definitely this global depression can be overcome, and then there is a possibility of clean energy transition coming in very shorter months itself. In that way, we can easily jump from this situation, and then stick to the renewable energy map without incurring major losses, because we all know that the renewable map is already planned for the coming years. So we should strictly follow the plan. We should try to reduce the losses and try to overcome this present situation. We should not alter our plan. We should try to go forward in this direction and towards renewable targets. And then the green business seeking urgent investment and economic and political stability. The green business, especially the solar related business, it needs very much urgent investment. New companies should invest a lot of money, and it needs some support and policy from the government towards this sector, and needs more political stability in establishing this green business in almost all states. In that way, then there is a possibility that our clean energy can pick up, and there will be a change in our green growth. And coming to other general aspects of this digitalization and all economy. So now, happy that we are all in the virtual world. We are all connected together through this kind of platform. So IT engineers, data analysts, e-commerce, these are all getting a sudden boom. You can see Zoom and these kind of Google Classrooms are very much popular among youths. It's becoming very attractive for the teachers also, because sitting at home, we are able to teach. Sitting at home, we are able to learn. So there are many advantages with this kind of digitalization of education and e-learning. But again, of course, it is not going. It will not be like face-to-face interaction. Face-to-face interaction always has much better, because it helps in knowing each other. The social aspects is there, human touch is there in face-to-face. But again, the speed, the reliability, handling a lot of people. In that way, there is the digitalization is helping a lot in this current situation. E-commerce, a lot of e-commerce company are booming up. They are able to deliver the food and the health products, sanitary products in time. So in that way, e-commerce is booming in this present scenario. Sophisticated video conferencing and webinars are becoming a norm. So we could see daily one webinar is being conducted in many of the institutions, which you should be appreciated that people are started to learn. People are able to acquire new skills. People are able to use their new kind of forums and all. So this really helps to learn it from home. So this is a new revolutions. We are into the new way of, you can also call as education 4.0, like industry 4.0. We are into the new field of education. So it has got both pros and cons, but still it has helped us to get connected together, and it helps our learning is not stopped. We are able to learn, and we are able to continue our education. In that way, it is helping. The digital collaboration is also helping. So I could see a lot of people collaborating online to do their research work. I see a lot of papers, COVID-19 papers, research papers are written by people sitting at home, actually sitting Chinese scientists or US scientists or Indian scientists or any scientists. They are having global connections, and they are able to come up with the joint papers. I could see joint papers coming from different countries, sharing their resources, sharing their ideas, sharing their response. In that way, the digital collaboration is happening. People are able to collaborate even sitting from home. They are able to finish their official work, research work, paperwork. So in that way, I could see there is a lot of digital collaborations. entertainment tools like gaming, news. Many of the news comes in online media, videos, votings are taking place, surveys are taking place in social media. There are many ebooks available. So these are all some positive things which we need to take out of it. Even e-consultations, e-lawyers, e-doctors, you can consult the doctors through e-commerce and all that. In that way, there are good things also. Digital collaboration tools like Google Meet, Google Hangout, Zoom, their market has increased like anything. So in that way, there are good things as well. So let me conclude this my presentation. Actually, I was thinking to talk about the present situation in terms of energy and transport, how there is a new way of digital life in this present COVID-19 situation, and we are trying to cope up. It's a learning experience for all of us, because nobody has experienced this kind of situation ever before. You, me, our child, our family members, everybody is facing this challenge, and we are totally into a new life, new environment. So we need to accept it, and we need to learn something from it, and we need to see how we can overcome this situation. The technology disruption was there, because before COVID-19 there was a different kind of technologies, and now there is totally a different sector, because if you want to access conference, we need to travel and we need to do this physical presentation. Now I could see Viva is conducting online, exams conducting online, PhD thesis conducted online, there are classrooms conducted online. So in that way, the technology has disrupted in a different way. It has moved from a different way in this one. So there is a little movement taking place. The transport has reduced a lot, and even if transport is going to come, there will be a lot of measures, social distancing measures, or some other measures will come in the transport sector. In that way, there will be new form of life in the transport sector. And the energy sector, there will be totally a transition as a new way of energy, that is like digitalization. Even people would like to share their energy with other people. Basically, if it is a digital network, then how much energy you are consuming, how much energy you are transporting to the grid. In that way, there will be peer-to-peer transaction also can happen. Like we are lending money to our friends, and that way that we can lend our energy to the neighboring friends. So future energy will be a digital energy, future transport, digital transport. So everywhere digitalization, IT sector is playing really a big role in this pandemic situation. Of course, the role of government cannot be ignored, because we are all driven by government. Government has to frame a suitable policies to overcome the situation. Irrespective of all the negative impacts of all this thing, government support is very much needed in this pandemic situation. We accept that the pandemic is real. We need to accept it, and we need to face this situation. And definitely there will be opportunity in every crisis, because this is a temporary situation we are facing at this moment. And I hope our future, our opportunity, there are a lot of opportunities even in this situation, because I am able to deliver a lecture from here, and you are able to listen to it, and you will learn something from this. You will take some ideas from it. In that way, there is also opportunity in crisis, and we are all able to get connected with each other. And there will be a lot of job opportunities will be shared in the online forum, and there is a flexible working hours also. In that way, there will be a lot of opportunities in this post-COVID-19 situation. I hope this presentation had given you some kind of insights towards the transportation requirements, and I slightly touched upon the socio-economic impact and this energy sector also. And with this, I thank the college, the management, for providing me this opportunity to deliver a talk on this topic. It was only 1 hour talk, but okay, because more than 1 hour also you may feel bored, and you may feel disturbed. Actually, continuously we cannot sit in the laptop and listen to all these things. So therefore, I plan to have only 1 hour of this slide. So accordingly, I made it. And if any doubts and other things, definitely we would like to interact and take some queries from this session. And I am thankful to the audience as well as the organizers for providing me this opportunity. It's thank you one and all. And I request the audience, if any questions are there, please do put in the chat box. I am ready to take up. Also, I request the organizers to take the session forward. So any questions from the audience? The chat box.
Thanks for start. Okay. So start பண்ணுவா.
If there is no question, I pass on to the session to the organizers for the concluding remarks. I could see some comments, some few comments. There is no as such questions. It's mostly I could see only about their introduction. I could see a lot of comments about the presentation only. If there is any technical questions from the chat option, I would like to take up. It's about nice session, very informative, very interesting, nice lecture. So I could thanks for your appreciation to all the participants. Most of them have appreciated the lecture, and a nice PPT. How much energy, especially oil resources, left for tomorrow's world? It's a very interesting question from Ms. Abhirami Karthikeyan. It's about oil reserves. There is a prediction that this oil may last for another 20 years, like that, because again, it depends on this kind of situation. This situation goes like anything, then there will be definitely demand, the oil demand gets reduced, and then oil may last for another 2-3 years extra. So in that way, there was some prediction that the conventional oil reserves may last for only 20-30 years for our demand. But again, we need to assess these. Definitely, the oil reserves is not going to last for long. It is one day or other it is going to end. So we need to look for alternate resources. That is what biofuel, biodiesel, and even there are other resources being researched. But again, biodiesel has got its own problem that land issues will come. You cannot convert the coconut oil or soya bean oil for our biodiesel requirements. In that way, the land or food or energy issues conflict will come if you go for this one. But we need to think about non-food crop based. So therefore, ethanol, methanol from waste biodiesel, all these other oils are coming. Then the fuel cell is coming. Even our future transportation may be from water, maybe that is producing hydrogen and then using it in our hydrogen fuel cell based vehicle. So in that way, there is a opportunity in electric vehicle and all. So future transportation maybe not from oil, it may come from other resources. In that way, our energy transition may happen. This is Ms. Abhirami question's answer. Then I go to the next question to Mr. Selvam Sagairaj. Sir, tell about the sustainability of oil resources after this COVID. Yeah, it's a wonderful question because the sustainability issues is there. People are afraid to put money into the oil sector. Fortunately, since I'm living in Malaysia, I see we used to pay 2 ringgits, 2 ringgit 10 cents for oil. Now it has come to 1 ringgit only. 1 ringgit is something only 17 rupees. 17 rupees per liter of petrol. Previously it was 30 rupees, now 17 rupees. And the demand has increased, reduced. So I could fill my tank for 1 week and I am able to go use it very lavishly in this one. So the people may not put a lot of money into it, and the sustainability of oil is definitely an issue. So this opens up a new market because since the oil and all this price has reduced and there are people are not willing to use this oil and all, there may be a switch in the different kind of network. That is, I said, talked about green vehicles and all these things. So the future transportation will be more towards demand driven, there will be no much public transport, but it will be more towards e-transport or some other kind of network. Only demand-driven based network may happen. So, but in our country, it may take time because huge population. To address this huge population, we need a lot of movements and also slowly things may come. In small countries, we are able to manage through demand-based operations, and there are e-vehicles, that is battery operated vehicle traveling for 30-40 kilometers. In that way, there is a lot of changes in the public sector. Definitely oil sustainability is the issue, Mr. Selvam. Actually, we need to think about it. We need to rethink about investing in oil. Then there is a question from Mr. Tamil Supertech. How many years to go demand for coal, sir? Actually, coal also, coal demand will be there because you know that we are still dependent on coal-based energy power generation. Best example is lignite-based power station from, I belong to Neyveli. So I lived and brought up in the hometown. There I see the lignite being used and it expanded like anything. Now I see how the plant has expanded a lot because coal definitely will play a role. Though we may say we will go for renewables and all, but coal definitely for another few years it's going to continue. The coal-based power generation will continue, but the dependency on this transportation, that oil demand may switch, but coal demand will be there. People will still use coal for power generation. But there may be decline also at the same time. But the demand for coal is there. We still import coal from Indonesia. We still import coal from other countries also for our energy requirements. But I hope there will be reduction in the coal demand also in the future. And there is a question from Mr. Annai Teresa. So when I say this Annai Teresa, then I feel my past intuition is coming to my mind. I started my career with Annai Teresa College of Engineering, which is very close to that your institution. I'm very grateful to that institution at this moment because it was my first institution which gave a job. So I am very sentiment towards this institution. So the question was something like this. After COVID-19, is there any new evolution of energy source happening? Definitely, as I discussed about it, that there will be a new evolution in terms of transportation. Actually, you see the public transport will have a change. The way we use public transport will be totally different. So there will be a new era in the way of using our public transport. Energy sources is concerned, and there will be more thrust on renewable energy, especially solar, wind, biomass mix. All will be equally good because there is a possibility even to produce liquid fuel from the solar. There are solar fuel research happening, even hydrogen based fuel through solar. The sunlight can be used to produce liquid fuel, and even sunlight can be used to produce drinking water, moisture from water. There are new ways of making things sustainable. So there are many things to evolve in this energy sector. So thanks for your wonderful question. I remember Annai Teresa College with this question. Thank you. And Mr. Gajanath Sharma, is there any research going on by which solar energy can be directly converted into useful electricity? Yeah, of course, we are. That is what solar PV is, the one which we are using for electricity, direct conversion of electricity. Therefore, there are other ways also. Other than solar, we can also go for thermoelectric and other modes of energy generation. Definitely, solar PV based is helping. Solar concentrated solar power also there. It can be a substitute for conventional thermal power plant, CSP based power plant. But again, CSP, it specifically depends on the place where we have abundant amount of sunlight. So we need to see where we have more of direct radiation, and those places CSP can play a role. Definitely, both concentrated solar power and PV based solar power can contribute to the future electricity requirement. That is my answer. Then thanks for all. I think some more questions, and I think I have answered. So this is reply to Gajanan Sharma. So there are PVT systems being researched because you can produce both thermal energy and electrical energy simultaneously. Poly generation, tri generation. Likewise, there are so many advancements. If you just go through the literature, if you go through research, so many things are happening in this field. there is a huge knowledge, there is a huge research happening in this whole field, and I request all the audience to think about all these future energy, solar trees, because natural trees are being replaced with solar trees. Definitely, natural tree is there. We can suffix the natural trees with the solar tree also. Thereby, we can produce power to charge our emergency requirements. In educational institutions, we can go for solar tree and all, floating power stations, floating solar thermal, all hybrid generation, ocean based thermal generations, all these things. There are a lot of energy advancement happening, and there will be totally a new way of life in this field, and we should learn many things. Of course, I am also a learner like you, and by researching, by talking with people like you, I learn a lot, and I'm very thankful to this Saint Anne's College, my first institution, Anai Teresa College, NIT Trichy, my past teachers and all, who helped me a lot, bringing myself to this situation. I'm able to address to people like you. It's only because of my past teachers and my past students and all. So really very thankful to all of you, and I'm thankful to this institution. I hope we had a wonderful session. If any more information is needed, please do come to online, put some message in WhatsApp or contact by email. No problem. Most welcome. Thank you so much, sir. Over to the college, the organizers.
Thank you, sir. It's once again say good morning to all. It is my privilege to have asked to propose a vote of thanks on this webinar section. On behalf of St. Anne's College of Engineering Technology, Principal and Department of Mechanical Engineering, and on my behalf of extend my very heartily thanks to Professor Dr. K. Sudhakar, Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, Malaysia, for gracing your important work and sharing with your valuable knowledge and ideas. Thank you, sir. I also wish to express my gratitude to the principal for providing encouragement for conducting 5 days international webinar in the department. I once again thanks to all for make this webinar a grand success. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.